So, as you may remember, we got a world record in Fear and Hunger, which is not a world record anymore. But does that mean we are gonna give up? Absolutely no! That's why today we are gonna speedrun again in Fear and Hunger! If you don't remember the previous time, I'm gonna leave a link in the description. I already explained all the different categories available on speedrun.com. There are all the endings and you can do them either any percent or glitchless. And since the previous time we touched the any percent category, this time I'm gonna move to glitchless, which was already quite confusing, honestly. Let's say the rules are not really completely clear. In glitchless, the runner is not allowed to use any unintentional mechanic, glitch and oversight, which makes sense, but if you look deeply into it, unintentional leg sweep. As you know, leg sweep usually cuts off legs of the opponents. Sometimes there are some weird interactions, but that's the point. What's intentional and what's not? I asked personally to an admin and they said if it doesn't cut a leg, it isn't allowed. But then literally the next phrase they say that Sylvian Tentacles is allowed. So whatever, fortunately this kind of stuff is not important for today. The ending I want to try to get a world record for today is ending the glitchless, where you ascend and become a new god in around 6 minutes. But in order to do this, I have to introduce you to a new villain in our speedruns, Godhood. This bastard currently has the world record in all the glitchless endings, A, B, C, D, E, except Dungeon Knights, but come on, it's Dungeon Knights! To beat your opponent, you start by studying their moves. Sun Tzu. Let's take a quick look at the strategy they normally use for ending the speedruns. For this run, we play as Darcy. The first part is to get randomly a throwing dart from one of the crates of the dungeon. After that, you have to gamble using lucky coins on the bookshelves to be sure to get one empty scroll, which is gonna be relevant later. Last important part for a while is to take the 5 silver coins from a hanged body in the courtyard. And if you didn't know about this, it's because you did not watch my Useless Fact series. But anyways, the game proceeds mostly normally for a while. You go through the prisons by falling from a hole, because it's faster, trigger the elevator, and then reach the Cave Dweller Village. Here we have a couple of things to do. Buy the quill from the merchant using the 5 silver coins you got earlier, take the rope from the little hut, and take the Cube of the Depths. It's gonna be important to enter Mahabre. With the rope, you're able to leave the Cave Dweller Village and reach the infested part of the mines, while also getting closer and closer to Mahabre. Here, in an arbitrary moment apparently, you have to use the empty scroll and write, "O Lord, give King Passage Key," which in case you don't know, it's the key which is gonna be able to open the Golden Temple. And I am sorry if it seems like I am angry, but I want to mention it again. In the rules, it specifically says you cannot empty scroll the souls of the gods. You know, you're supposed to kill the gods, get their souls, and then fight the nameless figurine, and only after that you get the key to access the temple. But of course, the key which allows you to skip all of them and the nameless figurine is allowed. Oh, fantastic choice. Good job with the rules, you nailed it so much. Whatever. While I was talking, Godhead reached the Golden Temple, and welcome to your final boss... to your only boss of the game. To your final boss, Francois, and we've only played for 4 minutes and 55 seconds. Here, you're able to quickly win using the throwing dart to poison the torso, because the poison gets transposed to phase 2, while also stalling by talking to Francois, because if you talk, Francois does nothing. Except for a little teeny tiny coin flip attack, but it's not a big deal, you can just guard it. Francois is dead, and you are ready for the final stretch. Rush to the void and reach your divine self to complete it all. Even if Godhead did not stop the timer, the run ends when you start the battle with your new god version of yourself. And this is the basic overview of what you have to do to achieve ending the glitchless. There is just one little detail I did not mention. At first glance, you may say, wow, that was pretty lucky. And you are partially right, but it is not completely how it seems. Let me introduce you to one last rule present on speedrun.com. Save files are allowed to be altered under the conditions that these changes are exclusively random decisions the game makes upon character creation. If you don't know what this means, hold my hand because I will show you everything. The truth is that several things which happen in your run are decided when you start it. Layouts of different zones, special enemies, they are all already decided when you create your character. Want an example? At the start, the game decided which layout you're gonna have in the entrance between the 4 available layouts, but it also decides if the enemies in level 7 are gonna be normal or are gonna be infected by a flower, but it also decides in which tile of the torture chamber there is gonna be the hole to the prisons. And another important one, it decides which list of items the Cave Dweller merchant is gonna sell. Knowing this, we can look again at the run we just saw, and while Godhead was for sure decently lucky at the starting getting the throwing dart and the empty scroll, which is of course probably the results of hundreds of resets, most of the route was already decided after that. Godhead knew the hole was gonna be in this position, and knew the Cave Dweller was gonna sell the quill necessary for the empty scroll. Long story short, we can say this. While some things are based on RNG, and let me tell you, resetting for a throwing dart and an empty scroll is the most frustrating thing you will ever experience, the rules at least allow you to simplify everything and reduce the overall luck required. And before starting about my strategy to complete this run, what are the main problems of it? What are the obstacles which may cause a reset in your attempts? And to make it more thematically appropriate, since we're talking about ending D, where you normally have to face the 4 new gods, let me show you the 4 new gods of this speedrun. New god of frustration, the hole. If usually winning coin flips makes you feel incredibly good and satisfied, this hole is gonna be so annoying. You see, in here, you want to fail the coin flip. The sooner you fall down, the sooner you can continue your speedrun. But if you win it, not only you're gonna waste around 1 second because the game is gonna automatically move you away from the hole, but also sometimes these holes bug, and you're gonna stay on top of it after winning the coin flip, requiring extra reflexes to quickly move away and back on top of it to fall down. Overall, in my opinion, this is the least problematic new god, because even if it happens, you still have a chance to continue your run. 1 second loss is a lot, don't misunderstand me, but at least it allows you to only lose 1 second, while the others... New god of luck. The guard in the prisons. While you can prevent the elite guard from spawning in here because that's decided at the start of the run, this guard is always gonna be present, and from what I can tell, the direction in which he looks when you arrive, it's random. Which also means he can be looking towards you and rush at you whenever you arrive. Even with dash, you are not fast enough to pull the lever and go away. And even if theoretically you could rotate around the table until he loses interest, it's just too much of a time loss. If this happens, reset. New god of skill. I wanted to call this new god of speed, but it's really just a skill issue if you lose to this one. The Night Lurch in level 7. As you know, in a speedrun you have to save as much time as possible. The fastest way to surpass this Night Lurch is to time perfectly your movement, to make it so that he goes where you want him to go. Out of the way. It is kind of difficult to land it correctly the first times, especially because in here you're gonna feel a lot of pressure. But god damn it, it feels so satisfying being able to juke the Night Lurch so easily. Really, this could be in one of those compilations of try to not be satisfied challenge or something. I would watch it 100 hours. And now the final new god, arguably the hardest as it stays from the start of the run all the way to the end. The new god of reflexes. For this we have to talk about what I refer to as animation, and with this term I'm referring to any event which triggers something which requires time before allowing you to move again. Example, the door getting opened requires time, that's an animation. The elevator going down requires time, that's an animation. Or even the camera movement in Francois' room is an animation. All these events have something in common. If you hold down the OK button for some time, the animation will start to go faster, saving you a lot of time. It works for all animations, it's fantastic. So you may say, okay, cool, just click it and it will be fine, right? If it was fine, I wouldn't consider it the hardest new god, don't you think? There are some complications, we may say. For example, if you click or release any other button while holding down the OK button, this breaks the speed up function and you have to re-click the OK button to re-speed up. I know that explaining it doesn't really convey how difficult it actually is, but trust me, here you can see me failing from the hole without holding and while holding, and you can clearly see the difference. And remember, apply this to all the events events of the run where there are animations, and you understand a huge part of your time saves is done because of this. It is the most important new god, and it's also the hardest one. Okay, we understood perfectly all the difficulties of this speedrun. There was just one final thing which made me wonder. Why starting as Darcy as a main character? Someone may say that's because of the Iron Spear. With the Iron Spear and the extra attack you have, you can skip one turn against Francois because you deal extra damage. Someone may say that playing as her in the Cave Dweller village, she is not present, so you can go there without having to stop because of her event. But is that really optimal? I am not the greatest expert of this game, but I don't think so. And regardless, I have never been a fan of using someone else's strategy. When Dark Souls players tell you that you're playing the game wrong because you're not using the most optimized meta builds all the time, and you're not doing 1000 dodges frame perfect in a row, tell them to fuck off, okay? There are several parts of this run which I will change, so say hello to the new speedrun main character, Kahara, and to my new speedrun strategy. I'm gonna show you the different passages with one of my earliest attempts. The starting part is basically the same. We have to wait until we get a combination of a throwing dart and empty scroll. But here already something changes. In Godhead Record, you would have to move to the right and interact with the body to get 5 silver coins. What's the difference? We are Kahara. By giving up escape plan in the intro, which is useless in this case, we can get 30 silver coins and skip that passage completely. First, time saved. Second part, the layout they have in the torture chamber, the zone with the priests, is called level 13A, and they require 27 steps to reach the hole they used in the run. But that's just wrong. Not only going to the left in that layout requires 24 steps, and so would already be better, but this is not even the best way. We are gonna use level 13B, which only requires 22 steps to reach the hole. 5 steps less from Godhead Run, the second time saved. For the prisons, there isn't really anything special I was able to come up with. On the other hand, I noticed the prisons becomes an excellent place to recollect my thoughts, as it's mostly a corridor, and most importantly, it allows me to see if the run is going well or not, because I remember Godhead was able to come out of the cell at around 48 seconds. If at this point of the run we are already too much above 48 seconds, it may be best for us to just reset. In the mines, I quickly found some environmental help to understand where to go. Be aligned with the moss in here to go around the wall while you walk up, and then rotate to the left stepping on the rock. I know it may seem stupid, but having visual references to understand where to go and what to do can be a lifesaver when it comes to repeating a procedure multiple times. And once we reach the Cave Dweller village, I decide to implement my biggest and riskiest change. Godhead goes on the wooden platform and jumps down from there to skip the loss of a limb caused by the Yellow Mage. The reason they do this is because the Yellow Mage could cut off one of your legs and kill your attempt completely, because without one leg you don't have dash anymore, and without dash you move at half your speed. And I don't know if you noticed from the already greatly different time, but I am not a good player. That's why the only possibility we have to win is by gambling. Yes, every time we get a run going after luckily getting a throwing dart and an empty scroll, if the guard did not already end it, we have to gamble a 50-50 of losing to the Yellow Mage hurting. It's our greatest time saver. It's a huge risk, but we have to take it eventually. We can fast forward a little because the stuff in the Cave Dweller village is mostly the same, and let's go to the empty scroll. I am gonna use a strategy I took from another speedrunner. If you assign on the keyboard to some random buttons the cancel option, and you spam those, you're able to cancel the verses of the empty scrolls quickly. This is me holding down one single cancel button. This is me spamming multiple cancel buttons at the same time. This is another important point where we can gain some time, because Godhead in their own run was a little bit confused from the empty scroll. I think they were tense because they go very slow in writing. Here we can save a lot. Juke the Night Lurch, and as you may have noticed, the enemies are not infected. You know why? It's a thing generated at the start, so we can influence it. If the enemies were infected, in here, in the road we traverse, there would be a plant which doesn't allow us to pass. The reason we go through there is to completely avoid aggroing the guard in the corridor. Finally, the ancient city of Mahabre, and the final possibility we have to save time. Godhead takes the path to the right, where you go through the puzzles, wait some time for a body snatcher animation to walk, and then you're mostly fine and you can reach the city. city. But here, we are gonna go to the left. We, as Kahara, took lockpicking in the intro. So we are gonna go on the left and open all the doors very quickly. Not only because I'm pretty sure opening 2 doors by fast clicking is faster than waiting for the body snatcher to move, but also because if you go on the right, you have to wait 90 steps to move. The road on the left is 84 steps. That's another 6 steps saved. From here on out, there is nothing else really. If we were behind, we are almost surely gonna stay behind. If we were above, there is a chance we stay above. Oh, and let me just clarify, for the Francois battle, we actually use a special strategy to target the torso. We use the mouse. If you don't know, you can actually use the mouse to focus on certain body parts of the opponent immediately. It also causes some bugs, and that's why I removed it in my bug fix mode. But in this case, it saves around, I don't know, half a second, maybe? Yeah, it also caused me to accidentally miss the body part correctly a few times, but it still works. Oh, and actually, I slightly lied, because there is another thing which helps us in here. Iron Spear attack animation requires 20 frames, while the Fist attack animation, the one we have, because Francois is gonna cut off our second arm, has only 10 frames, so we basically gain 10 frames on each attack we do. That's basically it. After that, just rush to your new god and it's GG. If we can do all of these fast enough and be blessed by RNG, the record is ours. And if it seems so good on paper, trust me, it was not pleasant at all. Not considering the countless resets at the start of the round to get a dart and a scroll, you have no idea how many attempts I lost early due to everything not aligning correctly. Either the guard was looking at me, or the hole plus the guard, or the yellow mage, that stupid yellow mage! The one implementation which actually makes this run possible! There was always something which was gonna go wrong. Okay, to be fair, I did not even spend that much time training beforehand, so maybe that's partially my fault, like, you know, going for the world record. Okay, Fear Hunger is not that famous for speedruns, it's not Super Mario 64, but still, maybe going for the world record was a little bit ambitious? But let's be honest, I don't care. You know what's the real problem with the yellow mage? Even if we want to change our mind because maybe we are getting a fantastic time, we cannot just go on the wooden platform because there is gonna be Darcy. Oh, and if you want to say, bro, if you play on hard mode, Darcy is not there, you are right, but there is also Sylvian in the void. And no, we cannot skip Sylvian because that's a bug and we are running in glitchless. Long story short, I hate my life. After a total of I think 10 hours spread across like 3 days, I was starting to get used to this kind of stuff. My clicks to reduce animation time became pretty consistent, the night lurch was not a problem anymore, I was starting to collect attempts which were able to reach the end, even if not the best time possible, but technically they would have been second place on world record leaderboard. But do we care about second place? Hell no! We are going for the world record! To train a little bit more, I also did 2 types of runs. One in which I just tried to reach the door to Mahabre without having the throwing dart or the empty scroll just to get used to the kinda normal route to follow, or vice versa, I started looting all the crates at the start to have more chances for throwing darts, and then actually have some runs going. Even if you can train how much you want, the pressure you feel when you're actually doing an attempt cannot be trained outside of it. There is also of course the possibility we get an empty scroll from a crate. That would be fantastic, it's a very low chance but can happen. Godhood checked both the bookshelves to get one, so we would save a lot of time with it. You know what's the problem? You also have to find a dart in the same attempt, and useless to say, it never happened. I dropped some empty scrolls during my attempts, but I never, ever dropped an empty scroll and a throwing dart in the same attempt. Until this run happened. Empty scroll from the first shelf, which is only a minor time save, but if you add it to all the other time saves we have, there is a chance. And soon after, the hole was gentle with us as well. We were able to fall immediately. This is where I started to get excited. See, we opened the door at 47 seconds. We are around 1 second faster than Godhead at this point, and there is still the yellow mage passage. If there is a moment in which you must be scared about things going wrong, is when you're winning. As you remember, I mentioned the 4 main problems of the run, but there was a 5th one. A problem which I completely forgot, as the chances of it ruining the attempts were miserably low. Let me introduce you to to the 5th member of the Fellowship, the Crow Mauler. Around 4 seconds were lost because of this bastard. Overall, our reaction timing wasn't even that bad. We were able to quickly understand the situation and use the battle menu run because it's faster than the skill run, even though the chances are lower. But at that point, I was almost thinking about throwing away the run. But let's continue, maybe it's gonna be lucky. The poison he threw in our run was slowly gonna corrode us and our attempt from the inside. 6 minutes, 14 seconds, and 460 milliseconds. Do you know what the world record is? The world record is 6 minutes, 12 seconds, and 840 milliseconds. We were around 1 second off from getting the world record. I don't even know what to say anymore. Even when everything was going perfectly according to plans for once, this stupid piece of bastard game pulled out some crap to ruin me. Fuck this game, fuck you, I am not gonna move until we actually get the world record. And so, we continued with our attempts. We had a couple of runs going, like in this one we went at like 49 or 50 seconds outside of the cell, which is not incredible, but maybe it's still doable. And look, the Crow Mauler also spawned again, so we are ruined once again because he's gonna run into a... Wait, what? What was he doing? What? Wait, is this actually a winning attempt? Wait, oh, let's relax. Okay, somewhat decent time to write on the empty scroll, that's good. The Night Lurch was dodged perfectly. We reach Francois, we kill Francois with the cursor, we reach the void, and... Say hello to the new world record holder for ending the glitchless in Fear and Hunger. 6 minutes, 12 seconds, and 480 milliseconds. Very close to Godhead timing. Despite all the optimization we did, we were just barely able to overcome the challenge. But regardless, we did it! We got the world record in ending D! Will it last? Psh, absolutely no. I am pretty sure when a better player than me actually tries this challenge, they're gonna destroy it with a new strategy. But even if it won't last, the only thing that matters is the memory we have of it. And the cherry on top? Do you want to know the cherry on top? You know who was the admin who approved my record on Speedrun.com? To conclude perfectly this second part of our speedrun adventure, who could be the best person, if not Ihukne? The original rival cements my triumph on this new opponent and declares me the winner of the run. So yeah, that was the speedrun. Did you like this different type of video? I loved being able to dissect the way in which a speedrun is done, while also of course attempting the run myself. So, if you liked the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. For each comment, one godhead in the world loses a world record. But for now, I was Frapollo94, and I will see you next time.